Hey weirdos. I'm gonna start off this by just stating that we have an industry that is under threat by Trump. It's a little known industry, it's not getting the mainstream media attention that we're expecting, like the auto industry and the farming industry and all of that. But it is going to affect our lives. And that industry is Hollywood. Trump has decided to impose some tariffs on the film industry, ensuring that any film made in the US only would be subject to no tariffs, right? One of the little known things is the American film industry is heavily reliant on the Canadian film industry. A lot of American movies are built on the streets of Canada. I come from a town of Port Hope where we do at least 3 video shoots a year. The town prospers from it, the local industry profits from it, and it's under threat because of the tariffs. So I had somebody reach out, his name is Jason Norris, to talk about how this would affect the economy and how it's going to affect like your TV, your movies, everything you love, and probably even content creators in the long run. So I just wanted to sit down. I'll give you a background. Jason Norris is the founder and managing partner of YCAA in Toronto, representing union actors across Canada. YCAA has been named Canada's fastest growing agency by Casting Workbook and one of Toronto's top 10 agencies by The Gate. He delivers actionable insights on talent representation, film financing, and leveraging Canada's incentives to advance your career. He is one of the people who started a agency because of lack of what he was looking for in a company. So he decided to build it, and I was very impressed by that. I think we need a lot more of that, seeing things in life and being like, that doesn't exist, so I'm gonna make it. Jason reached out, and I thought this was a good idea to give you guys a little bit of insight into what might happen. So, without further ado. So, Jason, why don't we get a little bit of your background and where you're from in this industry?
Yeah, sure, absolutely. And first of all, thanks for having me. I'm really excited to be on the show. Fan of what you're doing, so thank you. Listen, I am, as you know, I'm a talent agent in Toronto for YCAA. It wasn't really the plan. If I'm being completely honest with you, I was going to be an ad man. I loved advertising. I was in the ad world, studied communications at Ottawa U, shout out Ottawa University. I planned pretty much my entire youth to becoming this ad person. When people were reading Harry Potter, I was reading like David Ogilvy books, and really into that sort of 60s to 80s to 90s advertising scene. And I thought it was just so cool. So I myself followed in sort of that vein. And I started doing advertisement, I believe in 2008, shortly after, a couple of years after graduation, and was lucky to work for one of the bigger box ad agencies, and was even luckier to be on the production side, right? So we produced commercials, car commercials, but after a while, there's just so many times you could see a Jeep go up a hill, you know what I'm saying? Like, but the reality is where the interest in representing talent and artists in particular started was quite clearly because of advertising, and because a lot of times when people would come on set, they would have a fundamental idea of why they were there and what time to be there, and actors are just the nicest people, so they're always trying to do their best to service and be accommodating and a chameleon, right? But a lot of times in talking to them, I'd be like, is this like your first gig? How many gigs do you get a year, and what, like, how many are you on anything? Like any other person who's interested in when they meet an actor, they just kind of want to know what the gig's all about, right? What they do and what keeps them busy and that kind of thing. A lot of times they'd say, I'd be like, oh, well, you got to talk to your agent if you're not working that much. The common theme was, oh, I don't talk to my agent. I was like, what do you mean you don't talk to your agent? Well, he sends me emails, or she sends me emails, and she keeps me up to date that way, but really she only contacts me when she has an audition for me, or she needs something, or he needs something, that kind of thing. And I was like, that's weird. I always thought that was kind of strange, and that kind of started the mechanism that spiked this journey, is that I saw a white space of opportunity there was an open space of opportunity to improve the service level at that point. But that's it. That was it. I walked away and I was good. But the pivotal moment is when we needed my daughter for a production, and she did it. She did a public service announcement for the Durham region here in Ontario. And she did a great job. She really was everything you would want her to be, like, bubbly, and like she pronounced the words properly. And, the shoot was awesome. So after she came back and she was like, hey, I think I want to be an actor. I was like, no, you don't. No, you don't. And then she's like, no, I think I like this. So we put her in another thing. Like she got it. She was lucky to get 2 other music videos. So she was like a lead in a music video, and then like a supporting in another music video, playing the younger version of the artist. And then she was really, really into acting at that point. So like any good father, I started sending out emails, and I started with the people I knew in the industry, casting directors and producers, crew members. And I said, hey, listen, my daughter wants to be represented. I'd love to have some recommendations. I'd love to have some place where I could, maybe send her to be repped. And, I got a list of, a handful of agencies and agents, and I made the rounds. I did exactly what you and I are doing right now, Zoom calls with them, and asked them, what their service was all about and that kind of thing. And it became really apparent very quickly on that the agents only get 15% commission, so we're only going to do 15% of the work. 85% of the work comes from, you're on your own for 85% of the time. That was very, very true in the Canadian landscape talent agency. I really was like, there's got to be something better, right? Like and this was coming from someone who kind of was in the industry also, right? So I had a fundamental understanding of how things, the expectation, at the very least, I understood the expectation. And there was a lot of things like I didn't know, and it was up to me to bring myself up to speed. And I agree with that. But the lack of communication, the lack of support, the lack of, some people need to be handheld for a little bit so they can get going, right? You need that little push at times. And it was apparent that was not going to happen. So one night I stayed up and I wrote down exactly what I wanted out of the agency that I wanted for my daughter, kind of like a mission statement, right? So like very, very Jerry Maguire. And I wrote it and I sent it to the same contacts that had recommended some of these places, and they all came back kind of laughing at me, jokingly saying, this is a unicorn. You're looking for a unicorn, Jason. I said, well, what if I start that? What if I do this? What if I do exactly what's on paper here? A little more attention to detail, a little more attention to clients, more communication, having a plan for a career, not just throwing stuff at the wall and seeing if it sticks, that kind of thing. And they all replied, if you do that, you will really changed the way things are done in Canada. So I did. And I did all this for my daughter, and now she's no longer interested in acting.
That sounds about right when it comes to like having ideas as a child.
Totally fine. So so that's what, around 2018, we started this crazy journey, and we haven't looked back since, and it's very exciting.
It's very impressive too, because I think right now everybody needs to look at industries and flip them on their heads to do exactly that, like cater to more like services that really help people launch where they want to be and where they want to go. One of the reasons I started this was because I was handheld by somebody to say, hey, like, just push yourself out there. Like, you just have to throw yourself out there. And she helped me like get the confidence to just post my first video and get my ball rolling.
And that's a huge step. Posting your first video is honestly the most daunting thing. And then when you realize that like literally nobody's gonna watch it, you're like, oh, it wasn't that bad. But the pressure you must have put on yourself to post that first video, the amount of like times you probably watched it before posting, it must have been, but good on you for doing it, because you have something really great here. And I think you're just starting out this is going to be a very, very popular podcast. I have a feeling.
Thank you. I really hope I can do my best to just serve anybody who comes on my show. It's really about getting your message out and making sure that we frame you guys in the correct light and give you the most promotion that I can. So on the topic of what we came in to talk about, which is the 100% US movie tariffs.
Yeah, sure.
Can we explain to the audience what that actually is and who it targets and what rationale is behind it?
Sure, absolutely. So there is a possibility of a tariff threat, and I'm sure every single viewer knows exactly what we're talking about, especially if you're Canadian. There's an up and down, today you'll have tariffs, today you won't have tariffs, today you won't, like the whole the taco thing, right? Like the whole meme that's starting out, that's quite appropriate. So there have been some threats from the US administration that they could impose a 100% tariff on all foreign films. Meaning, and the idea is they want to keep films in America, which sounds amazing. It's a great idea on paper, in theory, and it sells. Just like most things that administration does, it sounds good to people who are very patriotic, but in practicality, it's not very great. And it's not very far from what's actually going on in Hollywood right now. Most movies in Hollywood right now are 70% or more made in the USA, even when it's a Canadian production that they use for Canada. So if this bill passes, it would have massive financial penalties if this 100% tariff came into play. And what would that do? Well, it would freeze a lot of greenlit US productions that are planning to do part of their shoot in Canada. It doesn't just hit studios, but it would really hit cast and crews, suppliers, hotels. The entire regional economy in Canada would be hit by this. A lot of people don't realize this, but the second place in the world with the most actors per capita, aside from Los Angeles, is actually Toronto. Toronto has the most actors per capita in Canada and second to Los Angeles in the world. Our cast and crews are top tier, world class, and that's why people love to shoot in Canada, because it is, it's very familiar and you're not compromising quality. You're not going to a foreign country that, you have to adapt to the culture, the language, the policies. So yeah, these tariffs would have huge implications, less on Toronto and Vancouver, who are the major hubs in Canada, but more like places like the Yukon or like Manitoba or Nova Scotia. They would all but be extinct, right? Because a lot of those productions are US based productions that are on location for a specific shot or a specific part of their story.
Yeah, I think about, so I'm from Port Hope.
Yeah.
Originally, and I know we do 3 or 4 movies a year in Port Hope, and there's a lot of background actors who get a lot of jobs around there too, and the businesses get supported by that market as well. So it definitely hits close to home. And even out here, we have Severance being filmed out here as well. So it's like, hey, maybe we won't get another season of Severance,
Correct. And that is the threat, right? It is. And do you want me to quickly explain how a movie gets made and why it makes sense for them to come to Canada?
Yeah, let's go into that.
Sure. The line that's being said by a lot of people who don't understand the financing, the backing, and how it works, that don't understand the back end part of film financing and investment, they're all saying, well, they're coming to Canada for the weak dollar. And in part, that's true. The way that movies are made these days it's like a financial juggling match, right? They're juggling matches for those lower budget movies. We're not talking about 50 million or plus. We're talking about those movies that you and I probably really like. The Happy Gilmores, those sort of 15 million to 25 million budgeted movies. Those movies would not be made at the moment if these tariffs came into play, because how it works is, and this is how it is right now, if they don't change anything, this is exactly how films are being made right now. In the US, you get two tax credits, right? 2 bills that will help you leverage some taxes and reduce the cost of filming. And all you need to do is have 70% of your movie made in the US, right? And a lot of that is very easy to do. You have the script is written in the US. Your director is American. Your lead actors and your supporting actors are American. Your post-production is done in Santa Monica in California. Visual effects are done, in Atlanta or New York. So a lot of times that 70%, they qualify easily, which gives them 30% to shoot on location. So a lot of times those movies they have a $20 million budget, but they really need 25 million to 26 million, then they're going to come to Canada because yes, their dollar is better. However, if they shoot in Canada, and I'll take Ontario for example, but it's very similar in all provinces. If you shoot in Canada and you employ 70% of cast and crew. So we're talking about your background actors, we're talking about your actors that are the actors that I represent, not the leads, but the actors that are talking to the leads in the scene. Those are the actors that they could hire. Then they hire our studios, because we have world-class studios. They hire our crew, our camera people, So if they can get 70% of the cast and crew that are local tax-paying citizens, well, then they get it up to $250,000 of grant money, of bonus money, of tax credits to make a movie. So now their $20 million movie is closer to $25, $26 million. They still shot and they still produced this movie 70% in the States. And they came here for 3 weeks to a month and they shot with 70% of Canadians, tax-paying Canadians. So that's how a $25 million movie gets made. All of the movies that you and I probably really like are in that ballpark. Sure, Top Gun has its place. I loved it. Mission Impossible is outstanding. But the movies that most people talk about, Shawshank Redemption, Happy Gilmore, these movies, right? The Big Lebowski, they're all movies that would not have been made if it weren't for that financial incentive on both sides of each country. So to put 100% tariff in would make no sense. It would actually reduce production. And the thing that a lot of people are talking about is it would push the cast and crew further. Like they'd go to North Korea, Saudi Arabia, where labor is much, much cheaper and the tariffs wouldn't affect the overall price. That's probably why they haven't been put in place and it's only a threat now, is because they've had time to think about it and look at the repercussions, and maybe they understood how the movie industry works at the moment, and it is working great. I mean, this is why there are so many movies with American-led actors and directors that shoot here. So many TV shows. The Boys, Handmaid's Tale, like everything is made because of these financial loopholes.
I just think of all of the content we wouldn't get to see. My favorite movie by far is Scott Pilgrim vs. the World, filmed in Toronto.
Great example.
I don't think I could ever see the movie industry never being in Canada because of even Supernatural and our own productions as well. We're starting to do up our own productions. Do you see, if the threats come in, do you think there'd be a comparable market in Canada versus the US? Would Canada then try and do its own market for movies and things, content?
I think that kind of, so I just got back from the CSAs, the Canadian Screen Awards. And the major conversation around at the CSAs was that, a lot of the executives, a lot of the people who are making decisions in Canada are getting a bit tired of being a service industry to the US. So the opportunity now becomes Canadian funding will have to step up. It's their opportunity to shine and step up and start funding more Canadian-based storytelling and storytellers. There's a massive opportunity here to build up our own IP, right? So for our own voices, and stop waiting for calls from LA, right? So those are the opportunities that we have, but they don't happen overnight, right? So there will be, if these tariffs come into place, and I've already seen some productions that, there was this thriller that was supposed to be shot in Vancouver, and they quietly paused it because they were uncertain of how this would affect everything. So we've already lost upwards to 265 people who are banking on having a job for a month that no longer have that job. It's paused. So we are already seeing some of those repercussions come into play, and the tariffs haven't even hit yet. So it would be catastrophic if they did.
I can imagine. The one thing that I will say on that, though, is I really do hope Canada starts building its own IP. The prevailing thing that I'm seeing out of Hollywood is the lack of storytelling and diverse storytelling. And I'm not talking let's throw in diverse characters. I'm talking out there worlds, building these new cinematic ideas instead of relying on the same things just being hashed out over and over again. I think there's a real opportunity for brand new IP to hit the ground running and become massive successes overnight, just because you're telling a completely different story that the rest of the world hasn't heard.
Yeah, absolutely. And I think I agree with you. And I think that part of that changed with Netflix and streaming. Well, we spoke about Happy Gilmore, and I'm not sure if you really like it or not, but it's a movie that I actually like. I thought it was great. But Happy Gilmore bombed at the movie theater. It was not very successful. It lost money. The theatrical release was not very good. It caught fire after the theatrical release with the DVDs and the merchandise and the purchasing of the rights so they could. So that built that massive amount of money that Happy Gilmore made was after theatrical releases. So a lot of the reasons why Hollywood isn't making the type of movies, because you gotta understand that yes, there are a lot of executives that are making financial decisions in the film industry, but a lot of them are like you and I, are very passionate about movie, and a lot of us love those movies like The Big Lebowski, Ferris Bueller, all of those movies, The Breakfast Club. We love those movies. And the reason they're not being made is because they're too risky at the box office. And streaming services do not pay enough to justify that loss, because film is an investment. It is a cultural investment, just like a painting is. However, it is still an investment. And those people who are paying major bucks for that movie to be made literally want to see an investment. And those are usually dictated by the numbers at the movie theater. And recently, Disney movies, Marvel movies, sequels are the only profitable movies that we can predict. So when movies like The Apprentice that just got made, Daniel, a Canadian filmmaker, producer.
Fantastic movie. Anybody out there, please watch that movie. Fantastic movie.
How does that, and I had the opportunity to talk to him after he won, best drama. He and I sat up, spoke a little bit, and Donald Trump tried to stop that movie. He tried to stop the release of that movie. And how does a movie with the most powerful person in the world really try and stop it, still get made? It is borderline miraculous, and thank God it is made, because like you said, it's a great everybody should go and watch The Apprentice. And if at the very least, it'll show you the possibilities of a Canadian filmmaker. What you as a Canadian and are dreaming of making something, that person made that movie happen in Canada with Canadian policies and with the United States barking down his neck and trying to do anything they can to not get it released. So bravo to him. And yes, let's celebrate that movie, because it is, like you said, it's amazing. And
I didn't know half about Trump until that movie came out and actually told the story of his upbringing, who he connected with, how he got his personality. Like it actually aligned a lot of the craziness that you see in the media together. Absolutely. It really solidified the idea of Trump to me.
Oh, absolutely. I 100% think that everybody should go and see it. Daniel Beckerman, by the way, is the producer for that movie. Daniel Beckerman is the person that made that movie, and he deserves all of the praise.
I hope we get to see more shows like that, more movies that just kind of go against the grain and kind of showcase what we really need to see sometimes. Those are the movies that you see and you just never watch, but I guarantee you, if you have a watch, you'll have so many different ideas and so many different takeaways. It's ridiculous.
One last thing on The Apprentice. Sebastian Stan's performance as Donald Trump in that movie is unbelievable.
Yeah, it was just, I can't say great enough things about it, and the controversy made it even wilder. Like, I think the only reason it was made was because of the controversy.
You might be right about that.
I think when it becomes a cultural phenomenon, things just happen, regardless of who wants it, who doesn't want it. Culture has really shaped a lot of what's coming out in these days. I really am so excited for the future, because we're getting tools that individuals can take now to create their dream worlds. They're just getting better by the day, and I have pitches, I have so many movie ideas, and now with AI, I'm actually able to come up with full comprehensive pitches to see if, hey, would this work, would this not? I think we're about to see an explosion of content creation ideas and movies and shows, and I just hope everybody's as hopeful as I am, because I'm a purveyor of content around the world. I love Japanese content, I love Korean content, Australian and English content as well, and they have stories that just have not made it over here or been built up in the way that American Hollywood has been. And I'm just excited for the future of that. So we're on the last couple minutes. I'll give you the last 2 minutes just to promote anything you've got coming or anything you'd like to throw out there.
Have you watched The Studio, Apple TV?
I just started watching it. I've been slow. I've had so much on the go lately with this channel. I've not really had time to watch content.
You know, I'll be completely honest with you. I do like watching it, and it is a comedy. It is written as kind of satire, but it is so close to the truth that, like, a person like myself and other executives that I spoke to in the industry kind of get frustrated because, like, we're like, it's true. This stuff does happen. They do. So I encourage you to watch The Studio and definitely take it with a grain of salt, but it's not totally far-fetched from the truth. There are exaggerations, but it is not far-fetched from how close it hits the home. So no, you know, honestly, there's not too much I want to promote. I just want to promote your audience that resonated with this episode, that are thinking of making a movie, that are thinking of writing down their story, that are thinking of doing something that is in that space. Do it. Now's the time. And I think you're right. There are many tools. AI is never going to replace the heart. However, it will quickly help you get your ideas on paper properly and help you, like you said, see if it's a good idea, see if it's not a good idea, see how it compares to previous movies or previous ideas. So I think because of that, AI has a great place in the creative world. It won't steal jobs like people think it is. It'll just enhance jobs. It'll make them quicker. Releases will come faster, and storytellers will have less of a barrier, financial barrier, to get ideas out. So I think it's fantastic. So my message really is to people who are listening to your show right now, if they have an idea for a movie or a show or something like that, do it. Write it down, give it to 4 of your friends that you trust, tell them to be hypercritical, give you notes, they'll come back with some notes, rewrite it till someone says, this is amazing. And once you have something that amazing, then 100% reach out to people like me and say that you have an idea and you'd like us to review it.
That is absolutely perfect for my audience. I will make sure to link all your information in the description so that everybody knows where to find you, and they'll be able to find you at any time because
very easy.
It's on the internet now.
Very easy. YCAA.ca is our main website. YCAA.ca is where they could find us. Yeah. Thank you so much for having me today.
Thank you very much for coming on, and stay weird. So I really hope you enjoyed this talk that I had with Jason. I know it was very insightful for me. There were some things I didn't understand about the industry, and I had a great conversation. Just some things that I'd like you to think on. If this comes in, our content industry is going to be destroyed, but I also don't see that as a bad thing. We can fix that. I hope that if anything happens down south, that Canada can stand up and build their own version, their own creation. We need a lot more Canadian people out there building things. I know I would love to build some TV, and I have some ideas. But yeah, if you need any more information, or you want Jason's contact information, please feel free to reach out. He is more than happy to help any content creators. But anyways, if you like this video, maybe you'll like this one as well. And don't forget to like, comment, or subscribe. It really helps the channel grow and gets my content across. And yeah, I hope to be able to do more talks like this in the future. And I know I have one coming up on an electrical engineer trying to build alternative energy in the world. Stay tuned for that, and make sure you hit that bell. So yeah, peace out.